We're celebrating our 10th year, and the theme of the festival this year is Women's Empowerment. Besides the programming of our films, we have feature films, documentaries, shorts, web series, TV pilots, and also VR. This year we're very proud to say that 65% of our feature films were by women directors. As a festival, we strive to give minorities, underrepresented groups a platform for their talent and their work. And I'd like to thank some of our sponsors, one of them being Hotel Figueroa. This has an amazing history. It was actually started by a woman, I believe it was in the 20s, for working women, which at the time was pretty scandalous. So it just went through an amazing renovation, and when we told them the theme of our festival, they jumped on board, so we appreciate that.
Anything else? Obviously, you've had a long
That's my life.
Yeah.
Continuously loaded. No, I'm good.
But you've had an incredible career as an actor.
Yeah, I've been around a lot.
TV,
I've been doing this now for about 30
10 years.
Yeah, 30 years, which I'm proud of. I'm proud of the fact that in a business where a lot of people have not been able to make a living doing what they do, I've been able to do that for 30 years, so thank you.
And I have some of the questions on my phone here, so I'm not checking your Instagram now. But yeah, well, first of all, I am a huge fan of all of the women on this panel, so it's an honor, and you guys are all in for a treat. These women are kind of at the cutting edge of groundbreaking film and TV in their work, and big props to the Downtown LA Film Festival for bringing this crew of people together. Their work is very excellent. But yeah, I mean, I love, the title of this panel is Seen and Heard, which I think is a great title for this moment in time and this moment of what's happening in entertainment. I just wanted to ask kind of each of you as like an opening question of, is there like a certain like show, film, performance, person that you saw when you were coming up that you felt like, oh, that's touching on some of my experience, some of who I am, and maybe contributed to making you want to work in this business? Is there anything that reflected your own experience? Or maybe not, maybe that's why you went into it to provide that for people.
I feel like there were films that resonated with me, but the issue or how I got into filmmaking was because I didn't see anyone who looked like me on screen, or anyone, there was some diversity. I loved coming of age films, but like everyone in a coming of age film, it was like Rushmore, Welcome to the Dollhouse, and they're brilliant films, but for how it spoke to me, and so it was really important to me in going into filmmaking and storytelling to tell stories where I felt like I saw someone who looked more like me on screen. And even I just did Daphne and Velma, the girls from Scooby-Doo's Origins movie, and in casting we have Sarah Jeffries playing Daphne, and she's half African American, and I was like, they wanted Velma to be ethnic, and I was like, no, I think Daphne should be ethnic, because I wanted to see someone that I could feel a piece of myself in, as someone who felt like from a diverse background. So to be able to now have the ability to cast in a way where there's more representation is part of, for me, is why I went into directing.
And for Tina or Carmen, are there any things that you saw, or performers or films that you thought, oh, this is reflecting some of who I am, or this is the kind of thing I want to be part of?
You know, I love the question. I also, yay for you, to be in this position. I think that what excites me, and when I look back on my early engagement with television and media images, is that there's a definite iteration, and growth. Of course, I was excited that I could turn on the television, and my family was excited that we could turn on the television and see Julia. or you know that you could see Greg Morris in Mission Impossible, or you could see, but it was the guy who was in oh gosh, the Williams. What's his name? Yes, Clarence Williams. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, you know, but these were very isolated and few and far between. So, as an African American, whenever someone that looked like us, you know, my entire family, popped on the screen, that was exciting. But what's truly exciting today is that, particularly as I am maturing and aging, it's really exciting that we're not just seeing faces of color, but we're really beginning to see well-rounded storytelling and people who are living lives that I can relate to, and not just some isolated sliver of their life, you know.
For me, it's a little different. Like as an audience, I grew up loving, as you can see from Maria, like action, horror, violence. Like every time, like people just die, bang, bang, and shoot, and you kick and you can race, I'm happy. And like I just, of course, in fiction, don't take me wrong. Yes, but I did realize that, you know, lots of the films that I love, like The Professional or James Bond, etc., they were all made by men and photographed by men as well. I'm like, can she do violence and can she do action? So it took me a lot of like different like indie films to be able to build a reel that was able to convince, for instance, Netflix to give me the opportunity on Narcos. And that doesn't mean that I don't love other genres. Right now I'm the cinematographer on Vida, in season 1, I'm working on season 2, and I love that show. We don't kill anybody. But it's a great story, and I love that it's a TV show that really empowers women. I mean, from the showrunner to the whole production team, they're all like females. We have a director in the house right there, second AD right there, and the director, she's wonderful. So I feel like, you know, that passion towards doing what I love as a human being led me to where I'm at, and it's a very happy place because now I'm able to see how our industry is changing for the better. When I started, it was in the times of so now I see this group and all this empowerment that it is towards women, and it's great, and it's only going to get better. I hope we will stay together and bang.
And I mean, I'm a huge fan of both Vida and Queen Sugar, which I feel like represent families that have not been given that three-dimensional representation on TV, really ever, kind of as they are presented in those series, which if you haven't seen them, you need to seek out those shows. They're just so meaty and emotional, they're gorgeous. Different kinds of people having these human experiences that we've seen other people have in television and not really communities of color as much. When you two work on those kinds of shows, do you feel a particular sense of, and I was going to say Tina's credits are, you know, ER, Hill Street Blues, I mean, every Beverly Hills 90210, every show, television show you've ever heard of. I was looking at your credits Tina has been on, and you have such a, with Violet Bordelon and Queen Sugar, you have such a deep, complicated role. But when you guys approach your work on Vida and Queen Sugar, do you feel a particular sense of responsibility that people haven't really seen these people in these families, and therefore there's not extra pressure, but an extra responsibility in your work as opposed to being on any other set?
I'm going to trade the word responsibility for honor. You know, it is an honor to, with the character that I play on Queen Sugar, we're talking about a woman who is in her 60s, and she is literally engaged in claiming for herself finally the best life ever. And you see this woman, she is, she's alive, she's sexual, she is trying to grow beyond the small image of herself that she had prior to the series. And what's exciting about that is that she represents so many women, you know, and so it is an honor to be able to render and actualize and share with the world, literally, who these women are, how we feel, the fact that there's still this aspirational quality that lives in their hearts and souls, and being given the permission to go after your life at every single point in your life is a wonderful gift to give to the viewing audience. And that's what Queen Sugar is doing in so many ways. Yeah.
I think it is a huge sense of responsibility in multiple aspects. For one, there's the aspect of, for instance, of Vida, we are representing the Hispanic community, and particularly, you know, World Heights, but we're also representing, you know, women, and these stories of women as human beings with the LGBTQ aspect as well. So we don't want to like fall in the stereotypes or do a cartoon of something, which is what happened with a lot of the Latin shows, and the reason why I don't watch them is like, I'm Latina, we are not like we're portrayed. So there is the aspect of like really representing people for how they are. But on the business side, a show like Vida, for instance, is making a public statement. For instance, the fact that like we carefully, oh well, I had like I'm one of the producers, well maybe, but like, you know, it was purposely crafted so that it would be like all female directors, female producers, and a lot of women. And it's not a statement against men or anything like that, but what we're trying to do on Vida is to show the world that if anybody ever had a doubt that a group of women could get together and do a successful TV show and get it on time within budget and amazing, then watch us. So I think that is what we were, you know, thriving forward. Unfortunately for us, season 1 was a big hit, season 2 is going to be even more amazing. And I think the responsibility falls on all of us, because whatever jobs we do, even if it's like a short film or a one-day spot, it doesn't matter. People are watching us. So our success is just proving to everybody that has doubts that we can do it, it's proving them wrong. So we all have the responsibility to basically build history with our own example.
And Susie, you have been directing independent feature films that center stories of women and girls for a while now. And your new film, Unlovable, I should give it the shout out. It premiered at South by Southwest, and it's going to be in theaters November 1st.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Is Charlize
de Guzman.
Charlize de Guzman is the lead character, and John Hawkes, who's an Oscar-nominated actor, stars with her. It's an incredible film, so look out for Unlovable. But you've been directing indie films that center women and girls for a few years now. And since the title of this panel is Seen and Heard, like, what are some of the challenges that you've faced getting your work seen and heard, particularly work made by a woman filmmaker that centers those stories? And for the filmmakers in the audience, do you have any like tips or advice or techniques of like how to make people aware of your film? And as we all know, like, making the film is half the battle, and then there's just so much of a push, and we were kind of talking about that earlier, that you need to make anyone aware of the thing that you've made, particularly if you don't have a lot of money and a lot of budget to push it out there. So any challenges or advice?
Yeah, well, even with Unlovable, so Unlovable stars Charlize de Guzman. She's a comedian, big Twitter following, and it's a Duplass Brothers film, and Mark Duplass was on board even before me. And he was going to help with financing it, but even with that, it sort of like stalled for a little, and it was just like, it felt like a year went by, another year went by. So at some point, we decided to just do a Kickstarter, because we were waiting for the money to come in, and waiting for it to get made, and ultra low budget. And so we did a Kickstarter, and we decided to take our destiny into our own hands. And it was like, well, it's easier to jump on board of a moving train versus something that's just sitting there that you're like, it's gonna be successful, I promise. So we did this Kickstarter, and like in the first 2 days, Zach McFarlane put in $14,000, and Patton Oswalt put in $5,000, and like suddenly all these people who were fans of her on social media started to put in money, and soon it was $65,000, and then Mark posted something to like that he would match all that money. So that's how. So even though we had like this great producer attached, it really wasn't in motion until we did that Kickstarter and took that plunge and just said, you know what, I know we have this cool name attached, but to get it in motion, we need to be the change we want to see. We need to be that thrust and that driving force. So I think it is that thing of you are paving your own destiny. And so to keep things in motion, and even for this, I have a film coming up next year, and it has a financier who was interested, and this financier was interested in another film I had, and the film stars Arden Giron, another great comedian, and both these films, this one financing company we're interested in, and Arden just like took the reins, got Zach Galifianakis attached, you know, I got Melissa Leo attached, and suddenly, like, boom, the money came in for that one would be because we just like started acting like we were making the movie, send out the script, we're making the movie, and I think it is that thing of with these smaller stories, it is, you need to be the driving force to get things done, because you're the director, you're the star, and like, you want to star in this like great movie, and like maybe aren't a totally financeable name, because, you know, even though I believe that like people want to see different voices and faces, and I think even in seeing what plays at the theaters in this day and age, it isn't a formula the way it used to be. It's, if anything, new voices that people are excited about.
And I think it's really true in distribution and releasing your film too. Like so often directors and producers and people who are invested, you just have to assume you're doing a lot of that work. You're doing a lot of the outreach.
Totally. Even with our release, we're just like it feels like, okay, now we have Orion Classics releasing it, but it's like, no, like you, again, like we're the ones who are going to be doing like the on the ground, like get people out to the theaters, because for distributors, really, you might get a theatrical deal, but for them, where the money is VOD. So it's really, I think, the responsibility as the filmmaker. If you want your film to be seen, you have to like put yourself out there. And I think if you put yourself out there and make yourself vulnerable, then people will respond to material when it's good and you put your heart and soul into it. But as we were talking before, I think work begets work, and as people in this room, even like as filmmakers, as you're trying to do things, it's like if there's like a small web series your friend wants to make that web series. Like if there's a small project like your friend who's an actor wants to do, and if you could film it, do it. Like, because I think once you're, again, it's that thing of once you're in motion, that like people start to be attracted to like what you're doing, become curious.
And I think thank goodness for social media too, which even for your shows, which, you know, Vita's on STARZ, Narcos is on Netflix, and Queen Sugar is on OWN. I think those shows have done a really good job of finding their audience through social media. You know, there are kind of those super fans. You need to be really proactive about going after that.
And your audience exists. I think that's one of the exciting parts of the whole flattening of the landscape that comes with social media, is that every single idea has an audience, you know, and if you've got a passion that is living inside of you trying to tell a story, and you can make that happen. What I love, what I hear you saying, Susie, is don't wait, you know, at whatever level that you can deliver excellence, do it at that level, because there's an audience, and there are people who are going to appreciate it, and that event in motion will attract other energy.
Don't wait. I made a film called Half Pictures about women film directors and kind of the challenges they face. Women direct about 4% of feature films kind of over time, and face particular challenges in this industry that is very challenging for everybody. And the numbers of working women cinematographers are even lower than directors. I think it's about, women direct about 2% of films. So those are the women kind of behind the camera and constructing the visual language of what the film is. Do you remember kind of when you first learned that the road might be harder for you as a woman, and did that affect your work, your ambition at all, or did you, like, kind of, how did you receive that information, and how did that affect you?
Well, I received the information in the practice because I did start, of course, from the bottom up. I did Dolly Grip, Gaffer, Electrician, and so I went through, you know, the usual expected things of, like, again, people not believing that I was strong enough or capable of, or etc. Or I used to have like this, like, you know, pouch that I had like my tools. And people would ask, like, are you carrying there like your makeup tools? And even till this day, people think that I'm like the makeup girl. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, it's always like they don't believe that I was a cinematographer. I have to say, you know, it could have had a negative impact. In my case, it didn't. Because I am very strong-minded, and also Colombian, so I can keep. So for me, I always took like every challenge or every sort of like joke or every you know, intention of oppress me or clip my wings, etc., as a way for me to like prove them wrong. So I took it with that perspective, and I think humor is something that we all really need to have. Because it's very easy, like, you know, what you recommend today, and it's very easy to lose your spark when you are facing these kind of circumstances. It does take an emotional toll, and it is bullying. So somebody asked me at the panel the other day, you know, this lady that she was working in an environment that was all men, and they were not taking her ideas, and they were making fun of her and stuff like that, and how should like deal with that situation, besides, you know, taking it to HR department, etc. And I did advise her that the sense of humor will help you crack that chip. Because there's the aspect of psychology, you know, the boys club, they do have a way that they have been for ages. So I think it's something that as women we have to be smart on our strategy. Like, yes, we do have to like do these campaigns and prove people that, you know, there are consequences and behaviors are not accepted, etc., etc. But on the day-to-day too, we have to find a way to maneuver and turn those, if you want to call it enemies or adversaries, into allies and into respecting and believing in you. And nowadays I have to say that, you know, my position with men and the men that work with me, etc., is very, very different. There's great respect. I've never had that situation present again, and when it ever emerged again, fortunately I was in a position of power to just like fire their asses. Excuse the language. And one of my favorite stories was, on a film that I did. It was actually my third feature back in the day, and I had a gaffer that was very envious of me, and he was purposely trying to sabotage this film and my work, and he was not like setting the flags the way, you know, I was asking, and he was trying to basically make it beautiful drama turned into a telenovela. So in one of these scenarios, I asked him to, you know, cut the light for this dream sequence that this kid was having nightmares. So, you know, I wanted a soft light bounce and just a lot of texture in front, so you will get these shadows and things. And when I came back and in the rush of the moment, you're trusting your gaffer that he's gonna perform, all I found was like an open face, boom, and that's like the moon. Wow. So what I did to fix that problem is I took an assistant, and that's where he helped me that I was a gaffer and a grip from before, so I knew how to use these tools. And I took off my bra, and I collected the bras of the girls in the crew, and I hung them all on this like stand in front of the light. It looked beautiful. So actually, it was a fantastic work. With all kinds of, like, you know, branches from all the sides, it was really nice. And then I did farming and publicly shaming. So again, it's like it's humor and it's solving, not letting it take you down, but seeing how you cope with the circumstances. So I think that's very important. It is very important.
That's what I love what you were saying about true. Yeah. Even in moments of like, being on set can become stressful, and humor is such a gift. And I remember this last series that I've just finished up, the producer, the first 2 weeks, kept calling me woman. Like, he would say things and he'd be like, whatever, woman? And I was like, okay, he's like an old timer. He'd been around a while, produced cool things, and so, you know, I had like sort of been like, you shouldn't call me woman, you shouldn't call me woman. But I didn't, you know, I didn't want to alienate him, but so I would call it out, and then I had told one of my key creatives, and he said it again in front of her, and she was like, woman, you should be calling her boss. And so he never said it again after that. But he ended up becoming my greatest champion on set. He was like one producer, and he was an old timer. He just didn't know better about the language that's appropriate to use. So I think I was sort of like charming him when he would say I would tease him, and then my creative like sort of teased him too. And he became like someone who initially when I met him, I was like, oh God, this old time, you know, he was such a champion of me, and really, I think it was an instance where like using humor in those moments, and especially because when you first get on a set, you're sussing everyone out, and everyone's sussing you out, and I think humor is such a great tool to like divide like cultural boundaries and like social boundaries, so it is like a great, you know, your raw story is just
Yeah, we gotta educate them.
And I think it's very true. I mean, I think it's so great that so much information about the challenges that women face in this business they're coming to light. That is really important, but I think it's, you know, some people don't know better. Some people do know better and need to be shamed, but still practically working in this business as directors and actors and cinematographers, we need to work in this business, so you need practical solutions to navigate this, you know, those challenges. And I wanted to ask all of you, I feel like in the conversation about the challenges that women can face in the business, sometimes that can dominate the conversation, and it is an important conversation to have, but I just wanted to give you all an opportunity to talk about, you know, part of the joy of what we all do. I mean, this is making films, making TV shows, creating is the greatest job in the world. So many people want to do it. You ladies are doing it. You're at the top of your game doing it. So I was kind of inspired by the speech that Shonda Rhimes gave at this Elle Women's event, where she said, men are really good about bragging about themselves. Men brag about anything. Give them any opportunity, they'll brag about it. And women hide, even when they have accomplishments that they should brag about a little bit. So I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity to just talk about a moment of pride, of satisfaction, of fulfillment, of something, to like give you the opportunity to brag about something that it's a moment of like intense fulfillment in doing what you do. See, it's hard, it takes a minute. It's so easy to know the bad things, right? To be like, you know, Susie's film's coming out in a couple days and it's gonna be in theaters around the country, and you know, whatever it is, that's something that fills you with that joy.
Well, I am absolutely thrilled at this whole sort of coming together of constellations that I am a part of called Queen Sugar. Because first we have to know that women open the door for not just other women, but for our stories. And in order for our stories to be told accurately, you have to have women. So this is, you know, the constellation that I stand in. Oprah Winfrey owns a network. And because she owns a network, she was able to turn to Ava DuVernay and say, what do you think about this little story, this book called Queen Sugar? Now, I'm telling you, Ava's name is known today, but prior to Queen Sugar, it didn't have the cachet that it has today. And Oprah Winfrey is probably the only person who would have taken a risk on Queen Sugar. And then Ava DuVernay turns around and she writes this character thinking about her own mother. You know, and I get the opportunity to step into and bring to life a woman who literally is an archetype in the world but had never ever been seen on television. And here I am in the prime of my life, being able to deliver, to show insight, to be a place of aspiration, to be a place of encouragement, to be a 360-degree character, and being there has empowered the other passions in my life. I am frickin' having the time of my life. And I needed those other women to get here. Because there's not, I can't aspirational.
Like the beating heart of Queen Show. I mean, she's kind of like the soul of that show, and I think it takes a very special group of creators to find that, and you to bring it.
I don't think that they knew that going in.
Yeah.
I think that the siblings,
They needed Tina Lifford there to.
they needed the times, and I showed up.
And what about Susie and Carmen? Just any kind of moment of whether it's on set or accomplishment, achievement, joy, anything you want to share?
I'll take more than a moment, because not to brag, but like every day on set, I do feel very like, you know, in the sense that like I'm doing my job so well, and we're like we're, you know, like we're moment. I do have to brag, I think, in my case about like the bulk of work. The fact that I can say that I just turned 35. And I have 26 feature films under my belt. Narcos season 2. Now I just changed agencies, and now I'm with UTA with the same agent as Roger Deakins and Rachel Morrison. And now I will be signing up, very likely with Circle of Confusion, for management for the directorial aspect. This doesn't mean I'm quitting the cinematographer. I am a cinematographer and I'll continue to be a cinematographer. But when it comes to action and horror, I feel there needs to be also more female voices there in the directing aspect. So I'm going to be doing both. So for that genre in particular, if you're looking for a wonderful one. So that's what I like to brag. And in the bragging, I also want to thank all the people that were part of it, because I feel like it's not a journey that you walk alone. It does take a village. And I've been very fortunate that I've encountered wonderful people throughout my career, people that give us opportunities. Here's my longtime friend sitting here, like he met me when I was a baby, not really, but when I first moved to LA in 2005, and currently he's my publicist. So it's been a great supporting team that I'm very grateful for, and I want to pass it forward. So I think that's what it is about, is, you know, for making the change, we have to make the change in the hiring process, in the believing in that in whatever position you're in, help the people around you, be really a team player and support each other and go to the movies and spend the money and, like, you know, subscribe to these things, because in the end, when the projects that come out showing the numbers that they do well, the more of it gets made. So ultimately, you know, we all win.
Things coming out that I'm excited about. Unlovables coming out November 1st, and I feel like we've really squeezed our hearts onto the screen, and I feel really lucky to work with an incredible team of creatives and creators, and it really is the people you surround yourself who bring things to life. It's the actors and it's the team of creatives. So that's, if I was going to brag about something, it would be this is my team, and I love building those relationships and trusting the creatives I love. So Unlovable, I have a Snapchat series, their first original series coming out Monday, and that's going to be cool. Hulu streaming, so there's just...
What's the Snapchat one called?
It's It's called the Dead Girls Detective Agency. It actually has gotten more press than anything I've ever done. So you never know. That's the thing. I think it's that thing of like work begets work. Bring your people with you and the people you love. I had Vanessa Morano in Dead Girls Detective Agency, and it's the 3rd time we've worked together. I've worked with Melissa Leo 5 times. I think it is like those relationships with the people, surrounding yourself. As a director, the smartest directors surround themselves with people who are better than them at their jobs, you know, and that's what, and then suddenly you look great because you're surrounded by all these cool people and trusting them and riffing. So yeah, I think in terms of, I can brag about my team. So cool.
Said we can stay for a few, if you guys can stay for a few minutes later, I want to open it up for questions too. Oh, sorry, you're right there. That's okay.
Yeah,
and I just wanted to say, so I made this feature documentary, Half the Picture. It's on iTunes now. It's going to be on STARZ October 22nd, so you can check it out there. It's on iTunes, and our distributor's doing like a kind of a incredible. Yeah, please.
Hi. Hi, I'm Amanda.
Oh yeah.
So I switched sides of the camera from being an actor to being a doc filmmaker, actually. And something I've realized that's been really frustrating, and I'm wondering if you guys have any advice about how to deal with it, is in getting funding for post-production for my film specifically, but kind of like all levels of working my way up, you know? I've noticed I have run into people who will kind of blur the lines of being interested in working with me and being interested in me. And it's really frustrating because I think we're having a meeting to talk business and it'll turn into something else, and it's like, they then reveal they're interested in both me and working with me, and I'm like, dude, pick one, you know? Like, it's really frustrating. I feel like nobody's taking me seriously as a creative in that way, and I was just wondering if you dealt with that and what you would say to that.
I don't have a great advice. I've dealt with it, and it's such an annoying thing because it is a waste of time. You go to endless meetings, you drive, you prepare, and basically it leads nowhere. So I haven't figured out how to crack that part. So I may not pass the microphone to somebody else, but I stand with you in solidarity. But I will say that as far as something that I did do to not waste my time anymore with projects, for instance, is I started just out loud requesting booking deposits for anybody who wants to work with me. Basically, you know, put a ring if you want it. So that, otherwise I'm not gonna be prepping endless and joining films that never get made. In your case, it's a little different because it is about like the finding of investors, which I've tried that recently. I have a project that I really love and also been coping with that. I would say I think it's a matter of finding an ally, you know, maybe a strong woman that is also a producer that really believes in you and likes what you have, and let that person be the business aspect of it that outreaches to the right people. Like maybe sometimes it's about finding somebody else that does it for you, because you are very, you know, you're very good looking. It's something unfortunate that happens for all of us. It's that like people always try to have an agenda about it. So I would say, yeah, maybe try an ally. I'm gonna try that. And anybody has a better advice?
Well, it's interesting because, so I used to be at CAA and Anonymous, like big agencies. And then like 7 months pregnant, I remember CAA dropping me and I was like, well, it's up. And then I met this manager and I met her and I didn't on the phone say to her, oh, I'm 7 months pregnant, by the way. But so she was like, come on, let's meet up. And so we met up and she was like, so we had this meeting, we just got along super well. She's not a huge agency, but she's brilliant. Hard worker, doesn't matter. And one of the things she said to me in the room was, because I was also 7 months pregnant wearing a dress, but she was like, one thing, when you go to meetings, always wear jeans and a t-shirt and sneakers. And I was like, oh, well, should I, you know, at first I was like, oh, because I would always like on set wear dresses and whatever, you know, I just really embraced my femininity. You saw an old reel of mine and you could see it's like oozing with femininity. But I took that advice and I actually think it was like a really smart thing she told me. And like, it's really weird because it was like, when I go to meetings, I have this uniform. It's just jeans and a t-shirt and a pair of sneakers. And I feel like then people see me the way they see dudes on set in their jeans, cool sneakers, and a t-shirt. So it's like such a small, silly thing that initially when she told me that, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna sign with her, and I did sign with her. And it actually was a piece of advice that with one of my girlfriends, who's a very established director, the other day I was like, dude, wear jeans and a t-shirt and sneakers really. Don't wear dresses anymore, because that's like, it is that thing of people, they can't, it's hard for them already to make the leap that like, oh, you're a woman and you're a director, but if you're like in the costume, it just gives them that extra like, you know, wear some like ridiculous t-shirt, a dude with like a sexy lady on it, you know.
I don't like that though, because it's so nice to embrace your femininity and way to change for them, you know?
I know, but I do think that would be, for me, my advice, like, and I took it.
We have to change that.
Yeah, but we can change that once you get to the driving seat. It's just, there are certain things that I think in helping people, and even, yeah, just because I have many other stories of like, I was up for this $6 million movie recently, the studio approved me, there was like a famous hip hop star attached, he approved me, and then I pulled it all because they said, you know, it's just, I'm worried about being too feminine. And nothing I did was feminine, you know, and it's just like, there's these notions going into certain worlds and rooms, and they ended up hiring a white man, you know, and it was like, but it is like, you can just do as much as you can do. And I agree, at that point, once you're in that place, but it is small things that you don't, that I didn't think would make a difference, but I do see that now going into rooms, I'm like, whatever, wearing my uniform.
You know, what we yearn to do can really control us. I mean, we so want to do what we do. We so want to make films that sometimes the wanting to do it and not knowing how to get there and feeling so vulnerable, you know, like,
Sylvia. I'm a DP from LA, and so this question's for you. Also Latina. So something that appealed to me a lot about what you said earlier is the way that what you ultimately want to do, as far as like action and bigger stuff and violence and this and that. And I mean, that's something that appeals to me as well. But you said that back in the day is when you had to basically prove yourself that you were able to make those type of movies and able to take on those films. I'm just curious if you can elaborate on that and what you did when you were in my position, like in the indie world, trying to get your movies out there, trying to be seen as like, hey, not only can I man an entire team and tell the story well, but I can also flip cars and I can also, you know, handle budgets that size. So my question to you is like, when you were in that indie world, what were those practices or any examples that you did that made you be seen and be taken seriously in that sense?
Absolutely. What I did is first I think that gave me my break was a short documentary that I shot in Venezuela about a street kid growing up in a neighborhood of gangs. That short was seen in festivals and it led to like, you know, other shorts that were more on the dramatic side and stuff like that. So my first 3 feature films were really more like drama, coming of age, not really, you know, the genre that I like. But the people that you work with, in this case different producers, when they see you, even though you're in a different genre, running the set efficiently, they see your eyes, your sense for the actors and how you tell the story, and they see that you're beyond it, and then in the friendship you start talking about your passion, that stay with them. So one of those producers recommended me for an action movie with Danny Trejo, Jonathan Banks, called Bullet. So it actually came from, you know, again, a contact like that. And then one of the producers involved in Bullet, years later, was producing Narcos. And somewhere in that mix, I also did 2 horror films for another producer. Actually, it was first for a director, so I did a cute film for him, and then he booked a horror one. So his producer of that horror one liked my work ethic and everything on set. Then he hired me for another horror one, and then he recommended me for an action film that he also produced, and so forth. So basically, it's a game of like, even though you're not in the genre that you may like, if you do excellent work, it's gonna, translate, because then people are gonna start seeing that it's not about the genre, but it's how you interpret the story and what's on the page. And that will lead to that. And sometimes I get work from like the actors, like you never know where it comes from. So it's good to like speak aloud your passion so people hear it. And I would recommend you to, if you're at the very start, like I don't know what point you are, but this applies to everyone. There's something to the fear of hiring. Like I would never hire anybody blindly because our necks are on the line. So that's why it's so important to have a reel or a short or something that represents what you can do, so you can give a physical proof that, hey, I can do kind of like what you're wanting. So if you're inclined to that genre, I would say, invest a little bit into creating a reel, even if it's not like a full like short or feature, whatever it is. Just create a reel with sample images that have your ability of that genre, and that's going to become your calling card later, and it's going to help you big time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Thanks for these great questions. Anyone have a last question?
I'm coming from the acting world, and I just directed my first short. And I absolutely loved it, but I made it for $2,000, and I missed the very beginning here. I'm wondering of different ways when you're really starting from scratch, different ways of getting out there and finding money. And I haven't trained. I took a course a long time in London in film production, but I haven't really trained. I don't have a school behind me or contacts through a school, or just how do you, starting from this point, try to raise money to make a little bigger film next time?
I think Kickstarter, Seed and Spark, using your friends and family, or I'm part of a group called Film Fatales, and a bunch of listings of grants for women in film, and there are a lot of organizations like Directing Women's, did you do that? Directing Women's Workshop at AFI is a program that you can submit to that is interesting. There are a lot of grants out there, and I think even at the Film Fatales that we probably have a list somewhere of a bunch of different options of grants, but I do think probably the biggest, fastest thing is Seed and Spark or Kickstarter, and trying to get the friends and family and friends of friends involved.
And I think, particularly for short films, I'm sure there are some grants, but there aren't that many grants for short films. And especially if you don't have a resume, if you don't have a body of work, you're making your first early things. And I would just counsel you to make something as cheaply, smartly, economically, come up with an idea you cannot break the bank with, but that is just really juicy and meaty and has great roles for actors. And this is a town that is full of fantastic actors, and they will work for you for free, and you can find crew for free. And it's always a little bit of a hustle, and we all have to do that, and we wish we had the big budget to pay everybody what they deserve, but you just don't have that starting out. So I would say just try to find an idea that you can execute really well, even if it's a 4-minute short film that just has a great, smart hook idea, get great actors in it, and execute it as well as you can, because I think we all get kind of, hung up on money and trying to find money, and you need money. You need money to get your work out into the world, but especially when you're starting, just try to make something as bare bones as possible, but that is smart, that you can do well, and then you submit that to festivals, and that can open a lot of doors.
Yeah, I think Charlene's first short, I forgot my phone, has 50 million views, and I think it was made for $500. And so I think it is like, you make it low to the ground, have a good hook and idea, and put it online. It's strange how things can just blow up.
Well, thank you all so much. Thanks to all of you. Ladies,
Thank everyone here, Susie T, the department, Amy, for sharing their knowledge and inspiring us. And also want to notify everybody, tomorrow is our closing night of the festival. We started on Wednesday. Tomorrow, unfortunately, it ends. We have great films, 3 p.m. We have a film called River Runs Red. Tay Diggs, George Lopez, John Cusack. Some of the talent will be in attendance at San Rigo LA Live. And at 5 o'clock, we are having our closing night celebration, the 20th anniversary of How Stella Got Her Groove Back. The author of the book, Terry McMillan, and the director, Kevin Rodney Sullivan, followed by an after party. You hear that music back there? That's going to be us on Sunday. And there's also a film, Bird Without Feathers, and the director is here. Thank you again for coming, and have a great afternoon.